He begged him, "Don't touch anything," he said. "Marcia is back there," he warned. Yet with complete disregard for my dad's pleas, the perpetrator placed the car into reverse and put his foot on the gas. And in these moments, he shattered our family to pieces. I mean, it's definitely one of the most tragic cases I think I've covered in my several years of being a court reporter. It was one of those cases where you kind of had a bit of drip feed of information, and so when we were working on the afternoon, I think it was a Thursday, on the evening, and we received information that a residential street in the Green Hill area of Sheffield had been cordoned off. And so Green Hill's a pretty nice area of Sheffield. It's on the Derbyshire side of the city. Lots of families live there. And so, that, as I say, the first we'd heard was there was a cordon. And then we were told that a 6-year-old lady had sadly died in an incident on this residential street. Pictures were taken of a car that had been involved in the incident. And we later found out the following weekend that a 12-year-old boy had been charged in connection with the murder of a woman named Marcia Grant. So when we found out that a 12-year-old boy had been charged with Marcia's murder, the case took on an entirely different dimension. It was so tragic to begin with, but then to find out that somebody so young was alleged to have been involved in the incident was truly shocking, and it was suddenly propelled into all of the national news cycles. Everybody, wanted to understand what it is that could have happened. And so Marcia's tragic death happened in April of 2023, and in the October of that year, the boy appeared at court again, and he entered a guilty plea to the lesser charge of causing death by dangerous driving. And that was accepted by prosecutors. And so we didn't really know what had happened with the case until the sentencing took place, which was at Sheffield Crown Court the following month in November 2023. And what we were told is that the boy, who was a looked-after child, who was in the care of Marcia, who was a foster carer for Rotherham Metropolitan Borough Council at the time, he was a looked-after child who's being looked after by Marcia. He got into her car, which was parked on the drive of the property, of the family home. And initially, Marcia didn't realise that the boy, who cannot be named for legal reasons, was in the car. She just assumed it was somebody trying to steal it. And so what happened next is that she ran out of her house and tried to stop the person taking the car. I think it was only later on that she realised that the boy was in the car. During the sentencing hearing, she got behind the car in an attempt to stop the boy from driving off. She was knocked backwards. She fell backwards onto the ground and she hit her head. She subsequently became trapped under the vehicle, and the court was told that the car was then reversed at some speed, causing catastrophic injuries. And so I think possibly the most heartbreaking aspect of this very tragic case is the fact that Marcia's husband, Delroy, realised what was going on. He ran outside and tried to save Marcia. He pleaded with the boy to get out of the car. He was banging on the windows of the car, but unfortunately he couldn't get the boy out of the car, and he was present while Marcia suffered those catastrophic and ultimately fatal injuries. On the day of the sentencing hearing, Marcia's children delivered some very, very powerful victim impact statements. They were extremely moving in what they said about what a wonderful person she was, but also in the way that they described the impact on Delroy and the rest of the family. So I've got the statement here of Marcia's son, Sean Grant, and this was read out during the emotional sentencing hearing, and this is what he said: 1,500 kilograms of weight rolling over the love of his life at speed, crushing her instantly. I also came to find out that my dad pleaded with the perpetrator not to do it. He begged him, "Don't touch anything," he said. "Marcia is back there," he warned. Yet with complete disregard for my dad's pleas, the perpetrator placed the car into reverse and put his foot on the gas, and in these moments he shattered our family to pieces. Since this day and that dreadful act, our lives have been completely turned upside down. I've been existing in a complete fog, constantly asking the question as to how someone could have such disregard for human life, a question I may never get answers to. And I'll move on to the statement of Marcia's daughter now, Gemma Grant, and she's kind of laid bare the impact on Delroy, her dad, who, as I say, was present when Marcia suffered her fatal injuries. Gemma said, Delroy's mental health is severely impacted, not just by the loss of his wife, but the loss of the days to come with his family, his Mars. He has frequent flashbacks and intrusive thoughts that leave him winded and crying. Delroy started smoking again after not smoking for 10 years and experiences depression for the first time in his life. For months, Delroy couldn't stop shaking and still experiences rapid heartbeats, flashbacks of trying to get Mum out from under the car, feelings of helplessness, anger, and a guilt so strong that he couldn't save his wife, couldn't prevent what happened from happening right in front of him, leaving him exhausted, shaking and sick. And he re-experiences this over and over again. So the boy, who was turned 13 by the time of the sentencing hearing in November 2023, he was sentenced to 2 years in youth custody by Mrs. Justice May. And the boy was told that the time he'd spent on remand by that point, which was 6 months or the equivalent of a year, would count towards his release, which means that he could be released by May this year, 2024. And what she said to him was that while custody is a last resort for someone of his age, taking the car and causing Marcia's death was so serious that only custody could be justified. And she acknowledged that Marcia's family are heartbroken, but said, no sentence I give can bring her back or lessen her family's sadness. In addition to the 2 years in youth custody, the boy was also given a 6-year driving ban, even though obviously he didn't hold a licence at the time he committed the fatal crime because he was a 12-year-old juvenile. On the day that the boy was sentenced, the family issued, through South Yorkshire Police, a very strongly worded statement which just sort of explained how they felt their grief had been compounded and that they felt they'd been let down because the Crown Prosecution Service decided to accept a guilty plea to the lesser charge of causing death by dangerous driving. And they also felt that Rotherham Metropolitan Borough Council had played a critical role in the circumstance that led to her death, because they had placed the boy with Marcia and their family in the family home. And their statement in full reads, the last 8 months have been torture, our anguish only to be compounded by the reduction in criminal charges brought against the defendant charged for the death of our mother. We feel completely let down by the Crown Prosecution Service and their lack of willingness to allow our mum's story to be heard and brought to meaningful justice. We strongly believe that the evidence on hand shows a complete disregard for human life and clear premeditation to do serious harm. We also believe that decisions made by Rotherham Metropolitan Borough Council played a critical role in the circumstance that led to our mum's death. Our mother was killed on her own driveway by a young person carrying a stolen knife and in the act of stealing her car when he ran over her not once but twice. Our mum looked after many vulnerable and troubled children during her time as a foster care and as a civilian. We have seen these young lives be touched by her love, kindness and generosity. Still, this whole ordeal leaves us with so many unanswered questions, and we are completely heartbroken that our mother will not get the justice she deserves. We are truly thankful for all the support we have received from family, friends and the public. We fully intend to keep searching for answers, and we ask that you continue to respect our privacy as we grieve our beloved mum and wife. And so also in the hours following the boys' sentencing hearing, Rotherham Metropolitan Borough Council announced that they would be conducting an independent partnership review. And we should also include the statement they released at the time from Nicola Curley, the Strategic Director of Children's Services at the authority. She said, as one of our foster carers, Marcia was well known, much loved and highly respected in our fostering community. She selflessly provided generous love and care to vulnerable children who needed it the most, and she is sadly missed by all those who knew her well. Our thoughts continue to be with the family. Our foster carers do the most incredible job looking after children in our care, and we are truly thankful for the commitment they make for doing this work. We continue to support our foster carers who have been devastated by this tragedy, and I can confirm that an independent partnership review into the circumstances surrounding the case is to be conducted to ensure that any potential processes and practices are considered. Marcia's family will have the opportunity to contribute to this review. I can see this possibly being a case that may put people off fostering or deciding to become involved with it, because it's hard to imagine, it's hard to imagine a more heartbreaking situation to be in than, you take somebody in to look after them and to perhaps give them the kind of comfort and home life that they've never experienced before, only for somebody that you've looked after in that sort of way to, commit a crime that leads to the death of someone in your family. It's hard to imagine how her family must feel, and how other people in this city and others who foster and take in looked after children must feel as well.